Welcome to Draw Process. I'm Ike, drawing pages of my comic books here in this series and processing about my development and the techniques that I use. And we're on page 12 of episode 3, number 3 of First Sun and Sword, my comic. We see the dancers. Our hero is confused about that, so he talks to the young man who explains why and what's going on, and that's upsetting. So they're not going to go after the little girl that's just been drug off by snakes. They're not allowed to go into the forest at night. That's the story of this page. Ending with Sword telling Farah, we're going to go back to bed and leave this village. And so some of the pencils got lost in the recording did not happen. And so you'll notice that sometimes I skip ahead a bit. These are my thumbnails, so you will see I have very rough gesture drawings for each panel, and sometimes I maybe take it too far. There's a little too much, detail added in, like here with a sword. I must have been pretty sure about this shot for me to take that much time in drawing him in that panel. One of the ways I try to control myself, guide myself, and keep my focus where it should be is the first thing is definitely gesture, and I use a lighter lead, a harder and lighter lead, a 4H pencil, or maybe even 5H at times, depending on the paper, which it will respond differently depending on the paper. But I'll use a 4H pencil, which is light, and so it kind of forces me to not add too much detail, to not try to finish the drawings. And then I'll come back on top of that with a 2H so that I can make a more finished line out of it. And the goal here being it saves me on erasing. I used to use blue pencil and then go to pencil from there, or even from blue pencil to ink. But I enjoy the regular pencil more because it erases better, I feel. It's a better drawing experience. But I do want to go from rougher under drawings to finished drawings. When you do that, you can maintain the gesture. The initial kind of sketch of that figure dancing captures the movement and energy, the symbolism even of it, in the sense that a smiley face is like it captures something, but it's not accurate yet. But you might add some of that symbolism, that meaningful, the lines of the smile coming up, almost like it's a smiley face. But you might start there to some degree, and then refine it, add some detail and better form to it later. So it'll capture the initial idea and energy. And it also helps me move quickly because these are the thumbnails. So I do not want to take too long focusing on one piece of it, losing sight of the whole, possibly going the wrong direction that I'll have to erase and redo. So here you'll see that the figures are not even, they're below stick figures. They almost look like the ghosts, like a little bit of a head shape, and then there's just this big kind of blob for a body with legs. I'm starting with something like that, just really almost like positive and negative space. If you've ever, drawn a figure in a panel or on the paper, and then you start to refine it and make it really nice, and then you realize it's not centered on the page. It's too close to the top or bottom or something. That becomes very important on a comic book page because each panel is like, it's your composition, and you want your figures positioned the way you intend, not just accidentally and randomly. And so the gesture level, the rough level, lets you plan out that composition and then build on it from there. And yeah, I've been actually at this point penciling the next issue, number 4. Um, and so I wrote it last week. I believe I talked about the writing, maybe it was the week before. But now I am well into penciling. I'm 15 pages in on it. And today it's July 6th, so even though this comes out a little later, I give myself a little buffer. So I'm well into my summer right now, and really in the thick of penciling, that penciling phase. So learning from what I'm currently doing and where I'm currently at in life, as well as by looking at this page that I drew months ago. Okay, so one thing I see, there is a symmetry to the page, which is one element of a good composition, perhaps. We have the top has the 2 smaller panels on the side with the larger one in the middle, and then we move down where you can see it's almost like an inverted triangle in the shape you get from these panel borders. So we go from the wider 3 to the narrow 3 to down to 2 at the bottom, 2 panels. So there's a balance and symmetry there. Again, I am there's not words in every panel. I'm trying to take time to show reactions and introduce subjects before they just jump right in. So we see Sun turning towards that boy, and the boy has an expression on his face that tells us something's going on, right? And then he speaks. If I went straight to the boy speaking and I didn't give you that moment to notice, then it might feel rushed. You're not in the experience as much. And especially if it doesn't feel sequential, if you're jumping from one subject to another. So far in this page, at least, we haven't seen the boy. The subject is sword. So if we move to the boy suddenly, that might feel off, random, lacking in storytelling. So I noticed that here. And my word balloon placement, I still work on including it not off to the side, but and not always above the head. So I chose to lower it in the middle panel on the second tier there, so you can see some of the dancers above him. Same with the second to last panel. Farah's word balloon is just right there in between her and sword, so that you can see everything above them. Because this is 2 images in one. In this composition, you have the dancers juxtaposed with the crying mother being comforted for her daughter that was taken. And then you move down a level, and you've got Sword and Farah having this private conversation, in a sense. And so I put their word balloon right there in between them. It's in a way, it's just between them. What she's saying is just for him and her. So I play with that too. I even think that if someone's word balloon is up above their head, they might be behaving rather logically, appealing to higher ideals. Whereas if the word balloon is below their head, maybe they're speaking under their breath. Maybe they're speaking from emotion, from the gut. If it's between 2 people, maybe they're speaking directly, to that person. If the balloons are encroaching on someone, maybe you're pushing them with your words. You're encroaching on them. There's emotional meaning to these positions of the word balloons. And so there's a few notes there. One thing that's going on right now for me is I'm exploring what structure to use in terms of single issues, printing each chapter versus printing a full book. My goal after the first two volumes was to print and produce two single issues a year, and each one to be a standalone story. But as I've been working on number 4 now, there are so many limitations to trying to tell a story in even 45 pages or 50 or 60, which are kind of the limit of what I can print for the style, for the type of printing I'm doing. So there's limitations to how much you can do with that. So I think I will break my stories down into 45 page or so chapters or parts and print them separately and eventually collect them. That's something I'm exploring, because with this latest issue, I'm trying harder than ever to not rush, not try to squeeze and condense things down into less pages, but give it as much room as it needs, to take even more panels to show characters interacting, having their conversations, getting to know each other, and so on. Those emotional reaction moments, the hesitation before they speak, which might be an extra panel there. The fight scenes, letting them draw out for pages if needed. So that room to breathe and focus on good storytelling is one of the reasons that I'm leaning towards breaking it into chapters or parts. And so I am pretty sure it's going to end up being 2 or 3 parts. I am not certain because, it's currently, my guess is that I'm sitting at maybe 80 pages, maybe 70 to 80 pages. But as I pencil it, sometimes it takes 2 pages to do something I thought would take 1, or I might even want to double or triple the amount of pages of a fight scene, because those are hard to estimate in your initial writing. So we'll see. We'll see how many pages I really need and how many parts I have to break it into. But I'm pretty sure it'll end up in parts, and that's okay. But that kind of brings up an idea that I wanted to share. When I reflected just before recording this, reflecting on my journey here, giving the story space to breathe like this has also been about slowing down, and in a way it's slowing down on the speed of production, but towards growth, so I'm putting more effort into my pencils, you could say, but it's to try to learn to improve my drawing skill through the process. It's not simply to have a very perfect finished page. It's about improving my drawing through the practice of drawing the page. So even if it took twice as long, if it's allowing for this improvement and growth and reflection, it's worth doing to me. So it's not taking twice as long. It's taking a little longer, I think. But I'm trying to put more focus into that, and then I'm going to put likely less lines down in the inks, or that the inks will at least go more quickly because the pencils are better, more finished. So I might save time on another part of the process, since it's taking a little more in that part. But the pencils is where it's at. That's where the acting is taking place. The story, the kind of the way the story feels, and the tempo of it, and even things that happen in the story are really getting nailed down in the penciling phase for me. And for me, the pencils and thumbnails are all one activity, and so it's all happening there. That's where that's the most important part of the book, and of the process. And so if it takes more time, and that's the part I want to get better at, that's the part I want to focus on. And it's the most enjoyable, so it's okay if it takes more time when I'm enjoying it a lot, right? Um, so that's happening. And when it comes to uh, loving the process and reflecting and trying to grow, um, the thing that I'm noticing lately is, instead of, I guess I talk about this, my the practice of my art often in terms of reflection and self growth. Um, but lately, it's been about loving the story, focusing on and giving attention to the story and the characters. And if I'm really loving the story and loving the characters, that's really impacting the storytelling, the acting, and things like that. And the penciling process is less about how do I pencil well, and much more about what does this character need right now. Uh, and it's kind of it can be challenging in a way, at least for me, to give that much love and attention to imaginary characters, to something I'm imaginary. I have a life. My life is not solely my characters and story, but more than ever, and maybe it's because I've spent so much time with these characters. I'm on book 4 now, over 200 pages of story here, and yeah, so by spending so much time with them, maybe I'm getting more attached or something. But it's different for me to love them and care about them like this, and it takes a little effort because part of me is also getting a little bored. It's tempting to get a little bored with the characters or story, um, and I don't know, or get tired of sitting there drawing when you're thinking, I've got so many more pages left to pencil. Um, Am I really going to pull out another one? I could be doing something else right now. Am I really going to pull out another piece of paper and start penciling another page? Those kinds of thoughts will impede the focus and enjoyment and all that. So it's kind of new for me, and it seems like to some of you, if you're a creator, it may seem obvious, right, that the writer should love their characters and give such attention to them. But for me, if you'd told me that that's a good idea, that's necessary in the past, I mean, I definitely would have said, yeah, of course, But I didn't feel it on the level that I feel it now. Now I have a feeling of what that is at a level I've never had it before, and it feels very good. I really like this. It feels right, and so I'm gonna keep this awareness and this feeling alive of loving the characters. So that helps me let the story breathe, even though part of me might want to finish the story sooner, to take extra panels, extra pages to show more of the emotion and reactions and so on. Doesn't feel like a waste of time, or like it's bogging me down. It feels like spending time with your child. You want to spend time with your child, right? You want to let them have another moment of your time, and so that to me is magic, right? It's allowing for something at a different level than I've been able to do it before, and I think it's going to show in the finished product. You'll see when we get there, but I think it will show in the product that extra amount of care. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm looking at my inking process here. I was it's in the dark here. I was really pushing the limit of this messy hatching line approach with this comic book, and that's very visible here. Um, and yeah, it's an experiment. It's something I played with in this issue, and I'm sure I'll do differently in the next one. Uh, and yeah, it's always a process. So I think I'm going to stick with the nib for this next issue, but we'll see when we get there. The G pen and dipped in ink approach. Um, but maybe I use some other tools too. We'll see. Um, but I will probably have a more refined or like efficient amount of lines on the page as we get to that. I don't think I said enough about that topic. So uh, back to loving these characters, loving the story. So as I'm doing that, I'm moving more in a direction of, uh, I guess, seeing the movie play, seeing them do things. The drawing of the pages, the drawing becomes um, secondary. It becomes just the medium through which I tell you about them, um, and they become the primary thing. The story and the characters become primary. And so, as I'm thumbnailing these pages, I'm trying to find some pace at which my penciling is keeping me present with the characters and the scene. If my pencils go too slow, if I take too long on each image, I lose my sense of being present with the story and the characters. Um, and and then I'm just drawing. Uh, or I'm just drawing, one expression instead of the character's expression in that moment relating to what just happened and what's going to happen, this kind of thing. So I'm trying to find the pace of drawing that's not fast, it's not simply efficient, um, but the pace that allows me to be present with the characters in the moment. Uh, and it's definitely a slow pace. Here I am, this spirit floating around, watching them do things, and it's like time's different for me. For me, it's going to take months to see what happened for them in one day, because I'm finding it happening while I'm penciling and inking. Right, the work I'm doing is the pace that I can keep with them. So I'm this ghost in a different temporal plane than them, and um, so I have to be patient to hold that moment and let it unfold slowly. I'm not, like, when can I get to the big fight scene or something, or when can I finish penciling this and get this book done? I'm just with them. Um, and again, it's enjoyable to be with them. There's nothing boring about it, but there is something about the pace. Uh, the I don't. There's a certain pace that feels natural for me to be with them. Um, for me, being able to sit and pencil an entire page in one sitting feels like a good pace. Otherwise, I can't stay present. I literally have to leave and then come back. Um, and so that puts me at maybe 2 to 3 hours per page as my max on penciling so that I can do it in one sitting. And the truth is, I'm not doing it in one sitting often. I still break it up because maybe I only have an hour to draw. But the idea is the same, that I want to maintain that pace. So here's the finished page. I'm sure I'll have more opportunities to talk about this new experience I'm having, an idea around creating in the future. But you'll see the finished page here. and the result of the ink wash and that the inking techniques I'm using, going for that, it definitely adds to the mood. Despite its messiness, there's something to this mood that's unique. Um, and that's it. So I'll see you next week for another one of these videos.